When my son was about 2 years old, his mother and I were married and we separated, got divorced, and I ended up sitting in chairs like you're probably sitting in now through the divorce education programs, co-parenting programs, and I didn't know where I was going, but I know I was very scared about what was going to happen. You see, I was an attorney back then. I still am now. It's been over 20 years, but back then I knew a lot about the courts. I knew a lot about judges. I knew a lot about the law per se, but I didn't know how bad things could get. But I knew enough to be afraid of it because it's all up to chance when you go to court. I'm here today to help you take pause and reevaluate things and see if going to court is really the answer or the solution to your family law problems, because I submit to you that more likely than not, it's really not. My name is Mike Mastracci, and I'm here to tell you why you do not want to give all the power to a judge. I've been a family law lawyer for 20 years now. I have to tell you a few things. I'm not into tooting my own horn, but bear with me. As I say, I've been a practicing attorney, family law attorney for 20 years. I've been president of the Maryland Collaborative Law Association. I'm a member of a lot of different organizations. In fact, you might want to get a pen. I'll give you some good resources. One great resource is a website called collaborativepractice.com, the International Association of Collaborative Professionals. So I've been involved in things like that. I've represented children in court in ugly custody cases. I've been appointed by the courts to do that. I've represented my fair share of mothers and fathers and angry people. And in my own personal case, which lasted for years, I spent obscene amounts of money, went to numerous depositions, court-appointed evaluations, dealt with court-appointed attorneys, stuck in scheduling meetings, trial dates, lost time from work, lost my sanity for a while, lost a lot of things. And you'll probably experience some of those feelings too, probably not being able to sleep or sleeping too much, not being able to eat too much, feeling stressed out, having your family and friends try to shy away from you because they don't want to hear about your divorce problems because that's all you can do right now is think it, feel it, live it, breathe it, and it gets old. I'm trying to help you that you don't have to do that and go down that path. All the things that I've been involved in as an attorney and what I've learned means nothing compared to what I learned throughout the years of dealing with my own custody case, both parenting during ugly times, pre-divorce, during a divorce, when you feel like you're under a microscope, and long after the divorce, because trust me, when you get a divorce decree or a custody order, it is not over. Often if you've been to court to resolve those problems once, chances are you're going to go back again. It's not the way to do things. As I say, my name is Mike Mastracci, and I'm here to tell you why you do not want to give all the power to a judge. After all, it's not a magic robe. So how do you like the robe? Does the robe make the judge, or does the judge make the robe? There's a lot of questions we can ask about judges. People think that when they go to court, the judge is going to solve all of their problems. They can't wait to tell the judge about this or tell the judge about that, and wait till the judge finds this out. And there's a lot of threats sometimes. People say, well, I'm going to tell the judge this, I'm going to tell the judge that. Does the judge care? Not that the judge as a human being doesn't really care, but does it make a difference to the judge in making a decision that affects your child and your child's future? More often than not, it probably doesn't. Think about it. You're not the only case the judge hears. They've heard it all before, all the allegations back and forth, time and time again. And it really doesn't solve anything. You've got to keep in mind that basically is all the judge can really do is to provide a framework from which you will live and parent. Dad may have a particular framework that he says he wants things to fit into. Mom has a different framework that she thinks things should fit into. And the judge is going to give you a different framework, and that's going to be his or her framework. I've heard judges say before, when you bring these kids to court, they're my kids. I make the decisions, not you. You lose all autonomy, all power, all major decisions because the judge is going to make them for you. And do you really want that? Let's talk about the judge. There are, I guess we'll call them good judges and bad judges, just like any profession. We know that there are good lawyers, there are bad lawyers, there are good police, bad police, good doctors, bad doctors. You know, judges are people. Judges come to court and they do bring their own personal backgrounds. I don't care what you say and how hard they try and how many oaths they take. People are people, and they have certain prejudices, certain feelings, certain biases. For example, suppose you say that I decided I want 1 week on and 1 week off with my child, and I think that'll work best for my child and for the other spouse. The judge says, based on his experience, that's not happening. He doesn't believe in that. You know, what if another judge thinks that every other weekend, one night a week is more than enough time? What is that judge's background? Has he or she been a son or daughter of divorce? Has he been divorced? What are the judge's qualifications? What makes the judge so qualified to decide those decisions? First of all, you have to remember, judges are generally appointed by the governor. Let's just say it's a little bit political from time to time. Sometimes it's like a popularity contest. And this is not to take anything away from judges. They worked hard to get to where they are. A lot of them really care, really try hard. But the fact remains, they cannot decide your future as well as you can. Judges often have backgrounds in various degrees of law. Many judges come from the state's attorney's office. So let's think about this. You could have a career prosecutor, been in the state's attorney's office 20, 25 years, 30 years, is now appointed to become a judge. Has never heard about a divorce case, has never practiced private practice in divorce law, doesn't know the first thing about divorce law. All of a sudden, that judge is thrown into family law court. And often, by the way, family law court is for the new baby judges, if you will. The judges that are recently appointed, they get stuck in family court so they can hear all these things and sort these things out. So often you get somebody with no experience other than they learn a few things in courses in judge school and things like that. And again, not to take anything away from them. There are a lot of judges that really, really care and really try hard. But do they have the qualifications that you have? Do they know your children? Chances are they're never going to meet your children. And they're only going to meet you for a short period of time. And often they meet good people like yourselves. But you're good people at your absolute worst. There's no question about it. And it's very difficult for judges. And judges will tell you a lot of times that it's harder to try a custody case than it is to try a capital murder case. And I think a lot of judges really believe that. So let's talk a little bit more about some qualifications. Book smarts. Does book smarts really matter? Yes and no. But in a custody case or divorce case, the judge has huge discretion. Often, almost without checks and balances, if you will. Yes, you can file an appeal, but it has to be on an error of law. Well, there are not a lot of legal issues that are complicated in divorce and child custody battle. We're married, we want to get divorced, we don't like each other, we have a child, we disagree on how to parent the child. Those are the kind of decisions that a judge is deciding. What property goes to what person, things like that, but we're not here to talk about property. Property can be replaced, but your child's future can't be replaced. And I just want to tell you something else from personal experience. Looking back from when my son was 2 years old and moving ahead for many years, I realize now how quick that time flies. And we say it all the time, you look back, you got a 10-year reunion, 20-year reunion, and time flies. And next thing you know, we're old and we're gray and things like that. Well, childhood goes by like that. And if you waste it and squander it on fighting with your ex over child-related issues, you're going to miss it, And your children deserve more than that. What I want to do today is just have you stop, think for a minute and say, what am I doing? Why am I going here? Why am I letting this person that I don't even know, who may or may not be qualified, make these decisions in my life? I would guarantee you that if anyone out there spent half of the amount of time, energy, and money that they will spend on litigation to prove a point or to right what they perceive as a wrong, if they would spend half that time, money, and energy on finding reasonable settlement solutions, they would do it. They could settle their case, they would settle their case, and they'd be a lot happier. And I ask you, don't you deserve that? Don't your children deserve that? I'm going to give you a few resources so that perhaps you can consult those resources and maybe find some solutions. There are other options from just divorce court. For example, there's mediation. You've probably learned about mediation on your journey to this point. There's collaborative law. Collaborative law is a great resource. And again, I would invite you to go to collaborativepractice.com for the International Association of Collaborative Professionals, and you can learn all that you want to know about divorce the collaborative way. There are also settlement negotiations that can take place outside of court that have a collaborative angle, so to speak, but the attorneys can get together with the clients and agree informally that we're going to try to settle the case without going to court. Once you start depositions and interrogatories and go down that path, it's hard to get back because all the effort is spent on fighting to get to court, get to court, get to court. So you get to court, and ultimately this is what you get. You get a stranger in a black robe. And they didn't invite you there. Basically, you're coming to the courtroom as an uninvited guest, and there's going to be more guests right behind you. So you're there for a short time, you're out the door, next. And when that door shuts, that judge is not going to spend a lot of time agonizing over you and your problems and how things are going after the divorce. Maybe they'll see you again in a few years when you come back. but it's a long, slow process, and it tends to never end. Again, you don't deserve that. Your children don't deserve that. So I want you to stop, think, and look for other alternatives. Even if you think that the other side is not interested in that, you do what you need to do to get them on that path. Whatever it takes, get on the settlement path. Litigation is really for losers, quite frankly. So we've learned that it's not a magic robe. We now know that we need to do what we need to do to stop fighting over the kids. And I wrote the book called Stop Fighting Over the Kids, Resolving Day-to-Day Custody Conflict and Divorce Situations. And most of it comes from personal experiences and making mistakes the hard way. I don't want you to make the mistakes that I made. And there's a lot of things in here that you can do and do right. Check out those resources, and there are plenty of others we have available for you as well. Take care and good luck.